Hey guys, Basil Bull with Grayson Hobby, and today we're going to take the Radiomaster TX12, we're going to open it up, dissect it, unbox it, and basically tell you all about it.
Yep, so we're going to go over the highlights of the supported protocols, etc., and just a little quick teardown of it to show you guys what's about.
And my favorite question of the day, or actually favorite question forever, does it support Spectrum?
I'm done again.
Alright guys, if you find value in this video, be sure to give us a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. If you need anything Radiomaster, we have all the parts, the radios, everything in stock, all shipped from right here in Loganville, Georgia, which is right outside of Atlanta. Come on in any Saturday, see this pretty face.
Made it awkward, Basil. Made it awkward.
Alright, well, we got a new radio in the market here, 2021. Significantly smaller than the TX16. Way cheaper than a TX16.
Yeah, this is a entry-level radio. This is a radio that's not going to break the bank. It's good for package combos. If you're just getting the hobby and you need to buy the drone, you need to buy the goggles, you need to buy the transmitter, battery charge, all that, it can get expensive.
Yep.
So this is something that's literally half the price of a TX16. So you can get into the hobby without breaking the bank.
Right. Or if you're part of a STEM program with schools, you can get 6, 7 of these versus basically the price of 2 or 3 of these.
Yeah.
So.
And while larger hands, it'll still fly with it. It's also small enough to support, smaller, younger kids and all that, so they can fly too. Because that's one thing a lot of parents have come in saying the TX16 was just too large for their children to be able to hold comfortably and fly, whereas the TX12 has that. So, and we'll also cover the fact that does it or does it not support a very well-known protocol. What do you call it? It's something like DSM2, DSMX, or Spectrum.
So it does not support Spectrum receivers. However, if you're going to fly airplanes, nothing wrong with this guy. Radiomaster makes a ton of airplane receivers with telemetry for a fraction of the price of the Spectrum receivers.
You can get an 8-channel receiver with telemetry for under $20.
Yes, and that's the equivalent is going to be triple that. So if you're going to fly airplanes, this really could be for you. You don't have to get the Spectrum. You got to get out of that mindset. Spectrum's for airplanes. Radiomaster now is kind of getting to be on the market for airplanes.
And the one thing some people say, oh, well, the screen's small, I can't do as much on the screen. You can still do pretty much everything you could with the FrSky X9s, X-Lights, etc. It is a smaller screen, but the menus are still OpenTX. Also, the fact because it is OpenTX, you can hook it to a computer and do all the programming through a computer if you'd like to import models, etc. So there's a lot of possibility with an open source program.
Question we get all the time is people come in, like the smaller radio, they like the cheaper price, but the next question I have is, does it support simulators?
Yes, this will support pretty much all the major simulators. If you can hook a TX16, if you can hook any radio on the market essentially to a simulator by a USB cord, you can do it with this radio also. One thing that's really nice is Radiomaster put the USB port on top of the transmitter instead of the bottom like other companies have done in the past for data communication. That way, when you're using it, it's less likely to put a strain on the cord and damage the port. Bad boy up and see what we get. So right off the bat, there's no stickers. I don't know if I can do this, guys. There's no stickers in this box compared to a TX16. But you did get a quick start guide. You get a little clamshell case, which is good for shipping, but that's about it. So in this little bag, we have a USB-C cord. So it's a fold-up little USB-C cord for the charging purposes or connecting to your computer. So you can't really say I don't have a way to connect to my computer because it comes with one. Okay. Has an antenna here, and this needs to be installed prior to use, and a little rubber cap. The rubber cap is if you go with an external module, you can cover that up. It's like a little beauty cover thing.
So external module such as?
If you're running like Crossfire or Tracer or something like that,
gotcha.
or just an external module of any sort. But before you use it, you always want to install it, and you can't say you didn't know because it did say it there.
All right.
So this is the radio folding handle. It's pre-installed.
Okay.
Inside the transmitter is the battery tray, and it holds two 18650s. So that's the 5,000 milliamp Radiomaster battery will not fit in this, guys. It's too wide. So you do need to use the 18650s or an equivalent size battery.
Okay. So and that does not come included. Sold separately.
Yeah, batteries are not sold with it. So this is the radio here, and that's everything.
All right. So what makes this the T12 versus the T16?
TX12 and TX16. You'll see the TX12 is much smaller in size. Still has a pretty good feel for those of you with larger hands too. You'll see that there's less switches on the top. So you only have one switch here versus two sets on the top. You don't have the dials on there. One thing I do like about this one is actually you have the A and the D buttons right here. That's kind of nice for like a momentary, like if you want to have a telemetry call out or a pre-arm switch or something like that, or just even for the beeper or the buzzer on most of your drones, or if you're doing a bomb drop on a plane or something like that, you can just set it to a momentary button. And it's kind of a nice, convenient area. Unlike, you know, the TX16 with the switches back here, depending on guys that don't keep it in cases, sometimes they break off these switches, stuff like that. It happens. So by keeping it compact here, it's nice for the carry purposes.
Okay.
You do have sliders on the side, so it does have the S1 and S2 sliders for like flaps or mixing or something like that. The power buttons here, you got the system menu. So the physical layout is similar as far as the button protocol or the button layout to the TX16, but it's not a color screen. Let me go ahead and grab a battery pack here and we can power it so I can show you guys. Okay, so, another thing. Does not come with a micro SD card, so you don't have your sound out of the box. If you get a generic micro SD, you can load the file off the website, insert it there, and then you'll get the audio files like you do with the TX16. The battery pack plugs into right there. So we're going to go ahead and just put that in. And then plug in the battery here. Just tuck the wires, sorry, and close it. Now the TX12 does charge to the top USB port as well. So if you need to charge the 18650s, you don't need a crazy fancy charger. You just need to plug the provided USB-C up. So basically the basic operation of the radio here, push and hold it, turns on, tells you open TX, etc.
Notice not.
And if like your throttle's up or anything like that, it will give you warnings. But yeah, you lack the color screen. This is more like a simplified QX7 size screen from FrSky or like the X lights and all that. You're more like that kind of screen here. So to see your supported models and all that, you're going to scroll down to the internal module, and you'll see that internal RF is on the multi-module. Now, these are the different protocols as of right now that are supported on this chip. You have a Corona protocol, you have a FrSky receiver, that's more like a buddy boxing wirelessly. You have a FrSky X, FrSky X2, which is more like access, L, which is LBT, I believe it is, for the European, Futaba SFHSS. I don't use Futaba. Those of you guys that use it, I'm not sure. I think that's the older one. High tech, there is a high tech style base protocol, hot, and Radio Link, which actually that's a newer one. Radio Link wasn't on the older one, so that's kind of cool. Then you got Red Pine. These are probably more like toy protocols like SkyArctic and all that. And that's everything.
Keep in mind, this will change, could change with every update.
And there's also sub-type protocols and all that. So basically anything that's using that CC2500 chip has the ability to do it.
You did not mention the most other famous one, Spectrum.
It does not support Spectrum. It does not support FlySky.
Okay.
Actually,
and that's because it's it's still a 4-in-1, but it's not the full 4-in-1, right? What do they call that?
It's essentially a 2-in-1.
2-in-1. That's what.
It just has a CC2500 chip and the ability to do an external module. It is a multi-protocol, but it's a single chip, which is again the CC2500. But they support like the Corona High Tech, Futaba SFHSS, FrSky D16, D8, which is nice because a lot of the FrSkys don't.
Ooh, look at that.
Radio Link and Glaupner Hot. Something to cover here that a couple people have asked me about. The gimbals are adjustable in height. They have a 2-piece screw system, so you can loosen the top, unscrew the height of the bottom, and then tighten it back down. So if you want longer gimbals to where they're taller, you can do that as well. They do come screwed all the way down, so they're at their lowest position out of the box, but you can raise them out. So the radio also has the ability to do an external module. External module is not included, but if you pull the back plate off here, you'll have access to the 5-pin plug. This uses the JR style module bay. So if you have the FrSky R9Ms, if you have a generic multi-module like a 4-in-1, so you can run Spectrum and all that. If you have even the older DM9 modules,
put that one in there and see if it fits. That'd be pretty funny.
I mean, this will fit. This is. Now we have Spectrum. Yeah, man, that thing's got dust on it.
Gosh.
And if you have Crossfire, where the micro Crossfire, full-size Crossfire, either one will work in this radio as well.
And then show everybody about the handle. Will that get in the way or anything?
The handle, I mean, it closes, but not all the way.
Yeah, okay.
But, I mean,
does it open all the way?
Yeah, it opens all the way.
So there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's the external module, guys. So there is the ability to get those of you that want to get this radio and want to get Spectrum
or
FlySky or
Crossfire.
Crossfire or another protocol that's not supported with it, it has the ability to add the module. That's the biggest thing.
Standard size.
JR style module bay.
All right, what do I always ask you to do on every model we get?
So we're gonna do a little something because I want to show you guys. People are like, well, why is this cheaper? What makes this cheaper, etc. There are physical differences, obviously, in size, but let's see what's inside. The radio itself is disassembled here. So I pulled. There's 2, 4, 6 screws on the back of it that hold it. So there's not a lot of screws to get to it. You'll see it's not ribbon connections. This is hardwired. So you have this is your memory battery here, so you don't ever want to lose that or take it out. This is where the SD card will go in. Now you can get a good view of how the micro SD will go in. This is your battery plug here. Your gimbals plug in, your sliders plug in, your switches plug in. Now if you look here, there's actually 2 extra pins. I'm not sure if you can add a momentary or anything like that, so you might actually be able to modify this radio and add more channels. If you go on like RC groups or anything like that, I'm sure there's how-to threads on modding, and there's a lot of guys that are, because this radio is cheaper, that they're not worried about modifying it. Now, let me show you on this board.
Oh, look at that. It even has the name and the...
Yeah. So here is a replacement board here. I want to show you, instead of taking the whole radio apart, if you flip it around, you'll see, unlike the TX16, which has a separate breakout board, you'll see all the buttons for the front trims and all that are located on the other side of the motherboard. This is your haptic feedback, so it does have the little, for those of you who are asking and before in the store and everything,
it's a little motor.
It does have the little haptic feedback, so you can get the little buzzer that, so when the timer's running out, it'll buzz the radio and put a little vibration to it. These are your buttons for the menus. Your scroll wheel selector here and the buttons there, the LED for the power indicator and etc. This is the only ribbon connector which goes to the LCD display. So that is pretty much the only ribbon on this radio here. Your USB-C, you can see it's USB-C soldered on there. This is the trainer port. Your multi-module right here is soldered on, so without heavy modification, you would not be able to change the internal multi-module to a 4-in-1. They might offer one down the road, I'm not sure. But this is your CC2500 chip modulation. This is basically the video transmitter. And the antenna is removable. So they did not solder the antenna on it. So if you look here, go back to this one. If you ever break your antenna off, which even though this is a screw-on antenna, if somehow you break it off inside, there's 2 screws there and the little SMA connector going to the UFL connector here. You will be able to replace that antenna in the future and all that if you ever damage it. So you're not completely SOL if something happens. The gimbals, you can see the adjustable tension here. Now, in order to adjust the tension of the gimbals, you do have to take the back plate off. You cannot access it from external on the radio. So you would have to
normally you would have little holes here, and there are no holes.
So if you want to add tension to the sliders, anything like that, you would have to take.
So which ones? Just show us which ones you would have to.
The springs.
Yeah.
It'd be this spring, this screw, this screw, this screw, and now this one's a throttle. So and that's the tension bar right there. So I don't know if it will. Yeah, it doesn't put any ratchet in it. So unfortunately, it doesn't seem like it supports that. If you guys like that ratcheting feel, it's just a smooth slider, so you would not have the audible ratchet to it.
Gotcha. Now the biggest replacement part we sell are the switches.
Yes,
So
switches are pretty easy to get to. The nice thing, because there's so few switches, it's a single switch with a plug. So you don't have a switch bay, which is kind of hard on the TX16 to replace depending on what switch it is, to where you have to kind of take a bunch of stuff off. This one, it's the little the castle nut on the outside. You unscrew and then you take the switch out and it plugs in there. So servicing your parts that may break off if you drop it or anything like that is going to be pretty easy to get to, which is nice.
Okay, cool.
That's pretty much everything internally, guys. Kind of show you guys. I don't know if a lot of people have posted anything about that, but that's the inside of this radio here. So you can see the 2 different sides of the circuit board.
Okay, these names always confuse me. It's a TX12.
Yeah, so
But-
it's the 12-channel transmitter from Radio Master. It does have, between the 4 channels between your gimbals, it also has 4 switches, 2 momentary buttons, and 2 sliders. So that's a total of 12 channels physically there.
Physical switches.
It also has the ability to expand up to 16, so I believe there's a couple extra ports maybe on the radio inside that you can hack and modify, but digitally you can do more mixes to equate to 16 channels as well.
Yes, this radio, definitely a thumbs up for me. We have tons of people who've come in it, tons of schools who bought them, and they love them. Very easy, very simple. It's a great secondary transmitter. If you already have one of these, you want to go on vacation or throw it in the back of your car or whatever, totally, highly, highly, highly recommend.
So it's one of those things, it's a really nice feature-packed radio that's not going to break the bank.
Yep. One statement I'm going to make, I usually don't make these, but if you're watching this in 2021, these prices will eventually go up because of that whole chip shortage, garbage, whatever's going on. It seems like everything this day and age is in short.
I mean, anything that's fun is going to
Plywood, OSP, 2x4s, radios. So if you're on the border, you're on the fence about getting one of these, whatever radio you are, if you see it, get it.